When we picture Isaac Newton, we usually see this guy, the ultimate voice of rationality, the stoic father of classical physics who mapped the mechanics of the universe. But his actual, unredacted resume tells a darker story. Paranoid mystic, doomsday prophet, underground alchemist, and ruthless criminal hunter. To understand the real person behind the marble bust, we have to start by correcting the record on his most famous career highlight, the apple. In 1665, an outbreak of the bubonic plague forced Cambridge University to close. Newton retreated to his family's estate at Woolsthorpe Manor to wait it out in isolation. For centuries, we've been told that sitting under a tree until a piece of fruit struck his head granted him the secret of gravity. Except that never happened. Newton simply watched an apple fall straight down, then spent years working out the mathematics of why it didn't drift sideways or upward. The discovery of gravity was a result of a slow, obsessive fixation on a mundane detail. It was this same trait, the inability to let a question go, that would eventually drive him to madness. Newton's personal life was defined by deep psychological vulnerabilities. Separated from his mother in childhood, he grew up distrusting others, fearing criticism, and obsessing over the idea that his discoveries might be stolen. When a fellow scientist named Robert Hooke publicly criticized his work, that underlying paranoia flared up. Newton withdrew from the scientific community, retreating into a deep, self-imposed exile. During the 1680s, instead of focusing on physics, he directed his intense intellect toward a very different project, an obsessive study of the Great Pyramid of Giza. He believed the ancient Egyptians possessed lost occult knowledge. By translating their units of measurement, Newton thought he could reverse engineer the exact dimensions of the Temple of Solomon, a calculation he believed would reveal the date of the biblical apocalypse. While he was hunting for the end of the world, he was also working as an underground alchemist. He spent countless hours trying to synthesize the Philosopher's Stone to transmute base metals into gold. This was dangerous research. The English crown viewed the creation of fake gold as a threat to the economy. Anyone caught practicing unsanctioned alchemy faced public hanging on a gilded scaffold covered in tinsel. There's a famous legend that his dog Diamond knocked over a candle and burned 20 years of this occult research. Modern historians largely dismiss the dog as a myth, but the massive scale of his hidden work is entirely real. During his years of isolation, Newton performed a dangerous pivot, plunging into highly illegal, heretical obsessions to uncover what he believed were universal truths. Between 1692 and 1693, Newton suffered a severe nervous breakdown. For decades, some historians tried to diagnose this episode as clinical depression or even Asperger's syndrome. The true cause was physical. He was suffering from severe mercury poisoning, having spent years standing in his secret lab inhaling toxic ulpers while boiling heavy metals for his alchemy experiments. In the midst of this mental strain, he made a baffling career pivot. In 1689, he entered politics, taking a seat as a member of parliament for Cambridge University. He walked into a room packed with loud aristocrats engaged in endless emotional debates. To a man who spoke in equations, their performative arguments were agonizing. During his entire term in office, the man who invented calculus and defined the laws of motion spoke exactly once. He asked someone to close a drafty window. Newton's data-driven mind was allergic to political posturing. He walked away from governance to find an environment where he possessed absolute control. He finally found that control at the Royal Mint. It was a job perfectly tailored to his paranoid and ruthless disposition. He transformed the national currency and personally interrogated counterfeiters, leveraging his characteristic paranoia to secure the economy with terrifying efficiency. Enforcing rigid laws and catching scammers provided a tangible, mathematical satisfaction he never found in the halls of Parliament. For centuries, the full extent of his bizarre double life remained hidden. That changed in 1936, when a massive trove of his secret alchemical and occult papers went up for auction at Sotheby's. The buyer was the famous economist John Maynard Keynes, who spent years poring over these forgotten, heretical manuscripts. Keynes came to a surprising conclusion about the father of modern physics. He wrote that Newton was not the first scientist of the Age of Reason. Instead, he was the last of the magicians. The mind that poisoned itself with mercury and looked for the apocalypse in Egyptian pyramids was the same mind that distilled the chaos of planetary motion into a single universal equation. His genius and his madness were inextricably linked as a single package.